My entitled sister didn't buy winter clothes for her kids, and I had to buy them so they wouldn't freeze. We made sure my ex-BIL got the kids not long after. Just to preface, my ex-BIL did take the kids away from my sister. She's a narcissist and a master manipulator. And probably would have had no problem lying in court to get her way, were it not for the potential evidence against her being so overwhelmingly bad. Her ex took the kids and didn't bring them back once he was positive she couldn't do a damn thing about it, and soon the court gave him majority custody. My sister only gets to see her kids about 2 days a month and some holidays. This particular incident goes back to winter 2023, before my sister was evicted from the family property. At that time her boyfriend had recently died in a car accident that quite possibly wasn't an accident. Technically she'd just broken up with the guy because he'd cheated on her, and she repeatedly cried to me that she's not a cheater herself. Which is an outright lie, as she had 3 affairs that we know of, while still married to her ex-husband. And she still thinks I don't know. But by that time, she was barely home 2 nights a week. My parents and I were the ones taking care of and paying to feed her kids, because she wasn't coming home to feed them. She'd call her kids and ask them what they wanted for dinner, and then wouldn't even show up. Our mother got mad at her and over text told her she'd abandoned her children. And my sister verbatim answered back LOL. No, I didn't. She never grew out of her teenage mentality. Even after having 3 kids and her husband joining the military to better support them, she was still acting like a teenager. My mother and I got in touch with my ex-BIL to tell him everything, because my sister had her kids so brainwashed that they didn't tell him much until he made them tell him everything. And any good clothes my nephews had, they would only keep at their father's house because they didn't want them torn up by the dogs, or smelling like dog feces. I found out my nephews had no winter clothes at my sister's trailer because my youngest nephew woke me up on an early November morning to ask for a ride to school because he'd missed the bus. And he was at my door in 39 degrees shivering in nothing but a t-shirt and shorts, and his shoes were falling apart. I asked him where his coat was, and he said he didn't have one anymore. While I was driving him to school, I told him I was going to buy him a coat. And he literally said, I am and not that sea cold. And I said, dude, I'm looking at you shivering right now. His shoes were so bad, he could barely walk in them. He had to do this limp forward moonwalk shuffle because the bottoms of his shoes were coming apart. I superglued them back together that night. And the next day I went out and bought him a coat at a thrift store, and he was wearing it to school right away. Then on the weekend, I took him out clothes shopping and practically bought him a whole wardrobe. He didn't even have decent socks. He was having to use socks from his brothers, and even his mother. I bought him socks, then I took him to a certain thrift store with great prices and bought him a pair of good black sneakers, 2 or 3 long-sleeved shirts, 2 sweatshirts, 3 pairs of pants because he had nothing but summer shorts, and a pair of gloves and a knit cap. We rushed everything into the washing machine, and he was wearing that stuff to school that Monday. The following weekend I took my middle nephew out and bought him new socks too, as well as about the same amount of thrift store clothes. He still wears the green hoodie I got for him back then. I bought him several pairs of pants, several shirts and sweatshirts, and a big thick coat, which he really liked. And he was wearing that stuff ASAP too. The only thing he didn't need was shoes. I'm on a fixed income, and this was not very long before Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I spent about $200 on clothes for those kids because they needed it. My eldest nephew was already living with his dad full-time, so he was fine. I also lent my youngest nephew a Timber Ridge camping cot, just so he'd have a decent bed. His tiny room in the trailer had a couch bed previously, but moisture and dogs just destroyed it. I also bought the kid a sleeping bag because he wasn't sleeping well due to the cot getting cold on the underside. I ended up getting blankets and pillows for both of those kids. And after my sister was evicted, we cleaned out the trailer and found out she not only had a brand new sleeping bag in storage, she also had a hoard of unused blankets hidden under her bed. Oh, we were so mad. She let her kids be cold when she had that stuff the whole time. The summer of 2023, all 3 of my nephews were allowed to live around the yard in tents, which they found preferable to living in the trailer with their mom, her boyfriend, and the stinky dogs. I ran power cords from my house to all 3 of their tents, and got all 3 of those kids fans and ice coolers, and lent 2 of them camping cots to sleep on. And I also let the eldest stay in my camper trailer from time to time. When telling people this stuff, the first words out of their mouths are usually, "You're a good uncle." Meanwhile my sister was busy drinking, partying, doing drugs, fighting with her POS boyfriend, and making trouble for all of us. We worked in secret with my ex-BIL to make sure those kids were safe, and he took them that December. And then he took my sister back to court. And before anyone points it out, I and my parents are very remorseful for not taking action sooner. But my sister had us all mentally beat down. She's a chronic manipulator that makes up stuff, and then spreads lies. She had people all over the area believing the stuff she said about our parents. My parents couldn't go out to the local restaurant without getting side glances from people. But after we kicked out my sister, all of that stopped. She was poisoning everyone against our parents, and she wonders why we had enough of her.